Okay.
So, should we go right into Team Dean?
I think that's the only team that consistently nobody's really.
Bro, I was almost Team Dean. And then I
Okay.
finished the show, and he was barely in the year in life.
Well, I guess should we talk first about Rory and Dean? I don't know if you have a lot to say on Rory as a character. I feel like I've said most of it.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like she's just. If I'm gonna say one thing, it would be I would just rewrite a lot of the explanations for why she's doing the things she's doing. Like,
Figure out what the fuck Christopher's deal is,
I don't-
first of all.
like I don't mind that Rory fucks up, and I don't mind that like she goes down these paths that are like straight up annoying. But I feel like my biggest problem with her is just that the writers refuse to accept that like sometimes she's not the perfect girl.
Well, I think that's a good segue to start off on, because I think Dean is where it kind of all starts with her romantic relationships. I think in the way that he does put Rory on this kind of pedestal
Yeah.
and just really loves her and just will cater to her needs before she knows she needs them, and it's just, I think like Lorelai says, just like, you're never gonna get a good boyfriend. Like, this is top tier good boyfriend.
Lorelai says this, and I wholeheartedly believe this. Dean is like the perfect first boyfriend.
Yes.
Like, he's like he's a cool guy, and like in season 1 to Rory, he's a bad boy because he's not a nerd basically.
He wears a leather jacket.
And he wears a leather jacket, so like they kind of introduce him as this, but like no, he's just like a nice, sweet guy. And he's sweet, he's loving, he's respectful, and he's like really nice. He's a really good person for Rory to date when she's going through just like changes in her life, and she wants to like, she's sort of being introduced into this world of relationships, and Dean is like just a very good guy and like a nice person, and like she does love him a lot. And I think like a big reason, like not to skip right to their breakup, but a big reason for their breakup is just that Rory's going through, and I think like most people go through, is that like she wants to, even if she doesn't realize it, even if the show doesn't necessarily say it, it's like she wants to date like a bad boy, like she wants to rebel a little bit in that like sense of like who she's going out with. Like, yeah, she's dated this like guy and he's obviously amazing, but that doesn't mean that he's like who she wants to be with like long term, like forever kind of thing.
I think she has a hard time kind of just accepting, well, which I think also comes from like a lot of pressure, like her mom just being super into Dean. Like, I think Dean's always Lorelai's favorite boyfriend.
Well, like Lorelai has a
fucking
scene.
hates the other two.
This is kind of like weird, but I was watching a scene in season 3 where like Jess and Rory have like sort of recently started dating, and like Rory's kind of worried about like, what will the town think, like that kind of stuff. And Lorelai sees Dean in the market, and it's like, just because you and Rory broke up doesn't mean you and I broke up. And I'm like,
should we talk about Lorelai and Dean's relationship?
I don't want to delve into Lorelai and Dean too much.
They're so weird.
There's a weird relationship, but I feel like Dean was like the epitome of like an innocent, sweet love, but like I don't think that can last.
Well, you see what he ends up being as well.
Yeah.
Which I think, honestly, I think Dean is one of the most interesting characters to me. The way I think he's just so like he has his moments of being a little bit of a prick, but I just think I sympathize with him so much. The way that like, I guess Lorelai's parents treat Dean when he's over for like, just he's so lesser than.
They probably miss Dean when they meet Jess. Like, what the fuck happened to a boy you liked? Dean.
That made her a car. Yeah, and just like I think he's like that. They do kind of like.
Oh yeah, you made her a car.
Yeah, he fucking built her a car, and I think the sad thing about Dean too is I think the show starts treating him shittier as like Rory. Well, the show and people around as Rory like kind of ascends to like upper society through going to Chilton and going to Yale. He consistently take a back seat, and like he kind of get stuck in the same arcs. Like he's jealous of Tristan in like season 1, season 2. He's jealous of.
I think all of Rory's boyfriends are very like sort of jealous types. Like she likes.
Yeah.
I think it's almost like she learned from her mom. Like because her mom's very possessive of her, I think she likes also when her boyfriends are very possessive
They
of her.
all get jealous.
They all do. And something I was noticing about, I thought this was interesting for like Rory's character especially, is that when Rory starts dating Jess, she's like, oh, like she's like worried about what the town will think. She's like, I'm worried about like Dean, and her mom's like, well, you'll get used to it, and like the town, whatever. Like, obviously that's weird, but like the town will get used to it. And she's like, and Dean will probably be moving on too. And Rory's like, oh, like I just didn't think of that. Like I didn't think that
Yeah.
my ex-boyfriend would move on from me. And I think it's kind of telling of like how the show views Dean also, is like he's just never gonna move on. Like Rory's so special and she's so great, but like
Yeah. And like he doesn't move on, I
he
guess.
doesn't. And I
but-
mean, they prove it right, but like it's like I feel like that's because the show,
Yeah.
like the writers of the show want it
And like
to be that way more than like.
they do him. Well, Rory does Dean so dirty too. I had such like the way. Well, that's the thing. Like I guess Dean. I think Dean to me was one of my favorites because yeah, he could be kind of a jealous dick sometimes, but it's not paranoia if they are out to get you, and she absolutely
Yeah.
was going on low-key dates with like Jess and stuff. So it's kind of
No, I mean Rory
Yeah.
was like emotionally checked out of that relationship with Dean, but way before they broke up.
gaslighting him. And I feel bad for Rory too because it's like I think at that time was very young and I just don't think understood her emotions and didn't like understand why she felt contrary to like.
Rory has a lot of breakdowns where she's like why am I doing this to him? I know that I'm being a bad person to him. I don't understand. And I think that like that's a good way to depict like I think the way their relationship ended when Rory finally gets with Jess was for me a really good ending place for Dean as a romantic character. And they could have, I think if they'd ended it there would be people who'd be like, I'm Team Dean, like I want her to get back with him. And I think it would be more of like a potential for a later in life reunion kind of thing if they had ended at that point, because it's like like Rory was just like, she was young and she didn't realize what she had with him, and I think if she didn't go back to it as much as she did, it would have been like maybe he was like the right person for her, and she just like needed to like move on and explore other things, because her going back and forth with him so much, I feel like just like made it a relationship that people were like, we already know that this just doesn't work. Like we know that her and Dean just like she wanted something more, and that's why she went for someone else. But like maybe if she like once she grew into the person she wanted to be, realized that like she liked what she had with like she could go back to that, but I feel like she went back to it always too soon after, like, because she dated him after Jess, I think, again when she goes to like college, doesn't she?
Yeah, when they have like the affair and whatnot. Well, to me the thing, like, I think that. Okay, first of all, I was super weirded out when after the first breakup with Dean, even after she didn't say like I love you back to him in the car and he like flipped out. Which I honestly don't think that was him being a dick. I think that was him just being an emotional teenager.
Well, I think a lot of the Rory Dean Jess love triangle is just all of them are like 16, 17 years old. Like they're emotional, dramatic teenagers, and I think they're acting the way they should. And that's why I like the depiction of that like breakup too, where it's like Lorelai kind of has to say to Rory, look, you're attracted to Jess, like you like him, like it doesn't matter that like logically that he's probably not a good guy. You have these feelings for him, and I think it's like you have to face them. And like I do think that's some somewhat good mothering on Lorelai's part when she's like, maybe you need to explore this. I hate it, but maybe like that's something you need to do. And I think
she handled the Jess Dean situation fairly well, where she was pretty clear like you need to pick one.
Yeah, and I think it was really fun to watch Rory, like not like fun per se, but like it was like a good depiction of like confused teenage emotions, to watch Rory be like, I don't know, like I know, like I think it's like sort of like her fighting with like, I know that I love Dean and I know that I care about him and I know that logically he's a better choice, but she like there was something like she wanted something, like she had this intellectual connection with Jess that at the time was just so exciting to her that I feel like she was struggling to like understand why she was more drawn to this person than she was to Dean in that moment, at least.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily like, okay, I am Team Jess, but if I look at it from an objective standpoint and not just like being into him, I do think it's like in that moment in time, she just like was really drawn to this person and she I think was like losing interest in her relationship with Dean, like a teenager would lose interest in their relationship,
Yeah.
like not that she didn't love Dean or she didn't care about him, but just like there was something new and exciting and she's 16 and she wants to explore that.
Well, I think the issue with Dean, and I don't know if it's like it might be going back to what you said, where like Rory kind of craves discipline. It's like I think that like she didn't have any challenge with Dean,
No.
and so it was an easy, comfortable relationship. That I think she is very like attracted to Dean because she's like very into like making out with Dean all the time and like wants to lose her like she's always
I
kind
think
of
she's
just that
physically
seems to
very
be
attracted to Dean.
yeah, like even like when they're early dating, most of what they do in the hangout is it's really cute. They're like, oh, we just kiss a lot and like
I also think Dean was presented in season 1 a little bit, like not a lot, but as a bit of a bad boy. And I think that Rory does have a type where she likes guys who are a little bit, like a little bit bad. Like
yeah.
I think, and I also think what she realized maybe from her relationship, I don't know if this is like just me, but she realized from that relationship she wants someone who's more her intellectual equal.
See, I think that Dean is initially written as like a very intellectual character. Like he's really into all the books that she's reading. The first thing like he likes about her is that she's super smart and like super into the same stuff as him. And then I think that they kind of write that back a bit to make room for Jess.
I thought he was written as like he's her opposite a little bit. Like he's
Okay.
like he's into the fact that she's a nerd and she's sweet, and I think he's into the fact that she's really smart and she's really into like books and stuff. But I don't think he's ever written as like I don't think he's written as stupid in the start. Like I think he is smart, but I think he's written as like someone who like he wants to learn about the things that she's interested in because he likes her, not because
I see.
he's super into them.
I'm like, yeah.
I do think they backtrack and make him dumber than he was in the first
Yeah, I think he does
season, but I do think he's presented a little bit as like he's really different from her, and that's why Rory's attracted to him.
I would say Logan's her dumb boyfriend.
But Logan is, but I think Logan is also like
he's her trust fund.
He's I think Logan is also pretty smart. He just like he and Jess have that same thing where they have that like untapped potential. Like they know they're smart and they don't really feel like they have to try.
I think the sad thing about well, like Jess, probably similar to Dean as well, is I think the reasons why probably has to do with like this untapped. Well, like even like Dean, a lot is like he can't afford to go to college. Like he's not going to fucking Harvard yet.
Well, like I
there's
think
no point in him being smart in his eyes because he's gonna work on a construction site.
They show that in his character. He's like, why would I even bother trying?
Yeah. Like, he doesn't need to be reading fucking Paradise Lost.
Yeah. I guess that's the difference between Dean and Jess is that Jess doesn't necessarily want to go to college, doesn't think he's going to go to college, but he reads those things because he's genuinely interested in like just literature and like books and stuff. And I think that's why Rory's attracted to him. Like obviously that's why she's attracted to him initially is because he's as into this nerd shit that she's into. And like he's not into it because Rory's saying, oh, you should read it.
Yeah.
He's not into it because of school. He's just like genuinely loves it. Like it's sweet. It's really nerdy, but it's sweet. Like you can tell they just both genuinely love this stuff. Like they're just like, oh yeah, you fucking read like To Kill a Mockingbird. It's so fucking good, right? Like she's like thinks it's adorable. He's like she reads one of his books and he writes margins, notes in the margins, and they talk about it.
Cute, yeah.
And it's just like, or like when she's like, I thought you said you didn't read much. And he's like, well, what is much? Like, he's very much like, he's sort of aloof and cool, but he also just like, he challenges her in an intellectual way that I don't think she had with Dean. And I don't think she has with Logan as much, but I think she has other stuff with Logan. I think he is like a relatively good boyfriend, but like I think she like had that like that shared interest and that shared passion that like makes their relationship compelling to watch. It's like, oh, you see people who are so different from me because everyone loves opposites obviously, and she loves people who are different from her, but so different from each other, but have this like one or two shared like passions that like they can come together on. That I think is what like makes Jess sort of like the thing that Rory wants when she's coming out of that relationship with Dean.
Yeah.
And I think I wrote it as like Jess is like an example at the time that they get together of Rory growing up a little bit because she's rebelling against what other people want for her and like what other people think is right for her, and she's actively seeking a relationship that she knows is a bad idea. Like realistically, she gets into a relationship with Jess and everything in her knows that
Yeah.
it's not smart to get into a relationship with Jess, and it's not the good girl Rory that we all know and love, but maybe it's like Rory finally growing up a little bit and being like, I can't just live my life based on like what I think is just like what other people think I should do or what I think is like the right thing to do. I have to also like feel it a little bit.
She's like, well, I think one of Rory's big issues as well is like she has a really hard time both figuring out what she wants and like articulating what she wants.
Yeah.
Like she doesn't know what she wants, which I think is part of it. Like everyone tells her that Dean's a great boyfriend and date Dean, but then when her like, you know,
and I think that also adds to her
vagina tells her to date Jess instead.
I think that
like,
also,
what is this?
I think it also adds to her internal conflict is that like everyone tells her this is the right choice, so she's like, okay, well everyone's saying it's the right choice, so why don't I want it? And I think that's something a lot of people go through. It's like, oh, like people tell me I should want this and I should want this life, but like why don't I? Like why am I not feeling that? I mean, also, I feel like a reason why a lot of people are Team Jess, I would say it's not a hot take to be Team Jess. Like, a lot of people who watch it are, is because, like, a bad boy trying to reform is, like, it's sexy. Like, it's fun. Like, girls love that. And, like, I think they try to replicate some of that a little bit with Logan.
He strutted into that show.
Logan?
Jess. Jess fucking swaggered up.
Jess came on and everyone Jess came onto that show and everyone was like, who, Dean who?
Yeah.
Like Jess came into that show and everyone's like, why do we care about Dean? And that's not a slight on like
no, I think Dean's
like
sweet.
Dean's character. I feel like he was really cute, but like straight up that's what happened.
I guess we didn't really touch on like Dean kind of cheating on his girlfriend later on, but
that to me was like,
but like
I feel like Dean's just like
19.
To me, Dean's character ends for me when he and Rory break up after she gets with Jess, and like maybe he's around in the show, but I just think I wanted to see him move on from Rory, live a life, and like him and Rory maybe be friends and see how that struggle with Jess continues with his jealousy more than like it's about Dean and Rory.
Bro, I was honestly like, I don't know, like I was kind of bothered, like I was weirded out when like at least when she finally breaks up with, or Dean breaks up with Rory so that she can go be with Jess. I was kind of weirded out to continue to see episodes where Dean was in them.
Yeah, I wanted a break from Dean after.
I was like, okay, now he's like, I'd be okay if he was kind of like around the town.
Yeah,
and,
that's what I wanted.
Like,
I wanted
Lorelai and Luke could have scenes with him. That'd be fine.
That's what I wanted. Like when I saw the like episode where like Lorelai runs into him in the market and Rory's actively avoiding him, it's like, yeah, like I want to see stuff more like this than like Dean's like an active part of Rory's life, because I think that's weird. Like I get it's a small town, they're gonna run into each other, but yeah, I didn't like that he was still in it when she leaves him for Jess, because it's very clear, and it's weird that Dean's like, I want to win Rory back, because it's like,
that was so
it's
weird.
like, dude, like you shouldn't want to, because she literally said, like without actually saying it, I choose Jess. I want him. I don't want you anymore.
Well, Dean made that decision for her, like broke up with her because he was so fucking done.
But she could have fought and said,
yeah, if
no,
she wanted that,
it's not true, I want you. But instead, after he leaves, she chases after Jess and says, he was right. I have feelings for you. I have been doing this to him. It's not fair. And Jess is like, yeah.
It was so weird to me. Like Dean's like, yeah, that was so fucking random, because Dean's like, oh, you're clearly in love with Jess. We're done. Like, go date him if that's what you want to do. Like, they're broken up. And then he could have left for a bit. And then he comes back around. I'm going to win you back from Jess. Bitch, you had her. You had her. Did you like how that was going? No. Like, and then, okay, so they do that. They do that one, maybe two episodes where he's like, I'm going to win her back. Nothing really happens with that. He just says it. And then he's just dating some new girl after that. So what the fuck was the point of that? Just to show that, like, Rory, like, no man can ever
I feel
get
like
over Rory.
it would have been more cool to see like Dean not be like, I'm gonna get her back, but be like
I'm
just a
fucking done.
dick.
Yeah,
Like
which is
a
what she
dick to Rory
deserves.
and a dick to Jess, which is what, like, he is kind of a dick to Jess.
Well, that's kind of what it becomes. Like,
And I feel like eventually he'd get over it, but like I wanted to see that more as Dean's like, instead of like, I want to get her back.
and then like
Yeah,
ultimately
when she
having
gets
that affair and
yeah. I mean, yeah. I sort of, but yeah, for me, Dean's character, like, just they ruin him by making him more than her first boyfriend and her
yeah.
first love.
It seems like, well, that's why I kind of sometimes watch the show and I'm kind of like, this is a tragedy because I feel like they do that a lot in relationships with Gilmore Girls. Is like they kind of just overextend their expiration
Yeah, like
date.
Dean as a character, I think overstayed his welcome.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's, I don't have a ton of feelings about Dean. Most of my feelings are about Jess and Logan.
Right.
And Jess is another tragic, I feel like, love story of Rory's that like
Yeah.
has most of it's like just you never really get to see it through, I feel like, with Jess, because they get together and yeah, he's a bad boyfriend.
Okay, I'm glad.
He's
No, okay.
he's so fucked up like as a person, and I mean that's as a teenage girl watching it, that would crack to
No,
me. I was like,
he was sexy.
he's hot, he's smart, he's really into the quiet, bookish girl, and he's a bad boy, and he's messed up and misunderstood. And like that's all like the stuff that like a 15-year-old girl watching that show is like, oh baby, like
Yeah.
what do I want? I want to fix him.
You see exactly why Rory wants to date.
Yeah, you see exactly why she wants to date him. And yeah, I think I wrote literally like he's complex and he's misunderstood, and that's so sexy to a teenage girl. And he's
Well,
acting out.
Lorelai literally says like, "Oh, it's okay. It's about time you have a Jess."
Yeah.
He's like,
She's like,
she has some
everyone
great
needs a
lines.
Jess in their life. Like,
Dean's the perfect first boyfriend. Now it's time for a Jess. Okay, fine. Brace myself.
yeah. And then she was kind of a dick about Rory dating Jess in general, considering she was kind of also the person who's like, it's about time she had one of those. Like, I don't know, like, you're like mad at her for dating him, but then also kind of not like encouraged her, but told her like, I think you just need to like go out with him.
Yeah. No, that was really interesting. That was one of the times where like Lorelai actually showed any kind of like maturity as like a parent.
Yeah, I will say one thing that like I don't think the show would have done this had Milo Ventimiglia not. I assume it's probably like he had to leave for like a different show. Like I'm assuming Heroes probably came out around the time.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Or I don't know, like something
Yeah,
that he was
yeah.
on. But I like that Rory never really succeeded in fixing Jess or changing. Like
Yeah.
he definitely wanted to get better, and I think she's a part of why he wanted to get better. Like just like in general, like fix himself. I think Luke played a giant role, and they're my probably one of my top tier relationships in that show is Jess and Luke's whole
Yeah, no,
father
they're
son
so cute,
dynamic.
yeah.
But I like that they sort of showed like he's like he wasn't ready to grow up when they were dating. He ran away like a little boy from their relationship, and when he comes back the first time and says, Rory, run away with me, like when she's at Yale,
Yeah.
I thought that was a really good like representation of like why at that moment in time their relationship couldn't work.
Yeah.
Because at that time, even when he thought he had finally like gotten his shit together and came to find her and tell her like basically like I love you, run away with me, he's still blaming everyone else for the way he's acting. And I think that like that sort of shows like why he has to go like and figure himself out on his own and like sort his shit out. But like the glimpses of their relationship that you saw, I think there were good moments. Like you saw that like even though Jess was a bad boyfriend, I do think he really cared about Rory, and I do think he really like they had moments where you could tell like they just really clicked.
Yeah.
As
like,
people, they click.
that was like low key a baseline. Their connection is like so strong and so just like
It's just like unreal how well they clicked as people.
yeah.
So like when
yeah.
they break up, I want them to break up for the reason that I want him to like sort himself out without it being like, oh, Rory fixed me. I want him to be like, I need to deal with this shit with like my dad and my mom. And the fact that I straight up dropped out of high school and like just thought I could like pass all the tests on me. Like he's like, I need to deal with my own shit, and like it's not about Rory, and to me it's not about Rory that he leaves.
Yeah.
It's just that he's like, I can't do this. And when he comes back the first time, it's like he's still like he needs to do more, but he thinks he's right. Like I think it's interesting, but yeah, they are. I think just like in terms of the person Rory like clicked with the most, just like as a connection, it was him. Like
Yeah, I think I totally get their connection. I just think that, like, okay, at least to me, I think like the connection is great. I think there's, like, when you say you're Team Jess, I think that there's.
what do you think?
Like, when I think of being Team Logan, I think of like they should end up together.
I think she and Jess should end up together.
I think that Rory was too good for Jess when they were kids, and that Jess is too good for Rory.
Yeah, okay, but I want to rewrite both of these characters.
Okay, we get.
I think something that I would say is, I just think also Jess is probably one of the few characters that like you said, like when Rory drops out of Yale, Jess coming and just yelling at her, like no one was doing that really to Rory, and it finally got through to her head that she needed to go back to school because Jess came in and was like, Rory, like, why would you, like, I think he's just like the only person who seems to get through to her in that way, and like I don't think Logan is willing to like push Rory the same way that Jess is willing to like sort of shake her and be like, what's wrong with you, like do what's.
But Logan does that too.
Okay.
I think Logan challenges her in different ways. Like, Logan's the one that, like, has that whole speech about her not realizing how privileged she is and what world she comes from, and kind of gives her that awakening.
Yeah, I guess.
He shows her how to, like, have fun in college. Like, I think they also have moments like this. I think Logan challenges Rory's growth the most. And this is my thesis statement.
Jesus, thesis statement.
I, Larissa, am Team Logan because I believe that Logan best fits Rory's in as Rory's love interest thematically. I really believe that they're in love, and it's the only relationship I've seen her have where they've went like challenges and gone through them. They're able to like communicate with each other, it seems, and like when they have those issues, they're able to work through them, just the way they do like long distance, and like they are very serious with each other, and like to the point of like where he proposes.
I believe Logan is really in love with Rory, but I don't always believe that Rory has that same like love that Logan has for her a lot of the time. And it's not like a I'm Team Jess thing. It's like a sometimes when I watch the show, I'm like I know Logan loves Rory. I know that he's deeply in love with her, and I know that he actively like very much wants to be in that relationship. But I don't, and I feel like I see Logan make choices that are for the betterment of their relationship that I don't necessarily see Rory willing to make. And sometimes when I watch them together, I just think Rory likes that he is a fun person, and she likes, like, I think she likes him a lot, and I do think she loves him, but sometimes I don't feel like she's as in love with him as he's in love with her. And I feel like I feel it a lot more on his end than I do on her end. But maybe I just don't like Alexis Bledel as an actress.
No, that's no. I think Rory is like just a very specific person. But no, I think on like in opposition, like I think Logan's the only one that Rory seeks out and like wants to pursue a romantic relationship, whereas I think the other two just kind of fall into her lap. Like, she's crying on her floor because Logan doesn't want to be her boyfriend. He just wants to hook up. Like, like, I think there is a lot of love there between them. When he sends her that love rocket, I think that's so sweet. The way he, like, sticks through everything. Like, he doesn't leave her when she drops out of Yale.
I guess, but, like, I guess I think, like, Logan also, when Rory drops out of Yale, I don't think Logan's that upset by her choice to, like, not pursue that, because I think for Logan, what he sees, what he needs for, like, a future wife is basically what all the women in that like society are, which is someone who is going to be what Rory becomes in that season, like part of the DAR.
No,
like,
I don't think so at all.
I don't think he's trying to do this to her, don't get me wrong. I just don't think I just sometimes feel like he's not that against her becoming that kind of a person, to the extent that her other boyfriends would be. And I think to the extent that, like, Rory will never be okay with being that. And I don't think that's what Logan thinks that he's supposed to have out of a partner.
See, I would say that's Dean, because Dean's the one that wants the housewife. Like, I think Logan's family wants Rory to just sit at home and be the house. But even, like, Logan's family being, like, I don't know, his grandfather, I think. But, like, Mitchum doesn't care. Like, Mitchum was happy to bring Rory on as, like, an intern, even if he did realize she was shit at the end.
No, I think Mitchum said that because if Rory's going to date Logan, she has to be...
Oh, I think he said that because she's shit.
No, I think Mitchum said that because he doesn't like the idea of Rory being a business. I think that was the way the show.
That's the way they. Okay, I think that.
I
agree with you.
Regardless of if Rory is shit or not, I think Mitchum said that because
to squash
her journalistic dreams or her ideas about it, because he knows what is expected of a Huntsberger wife.
But I don't think, like...
And if Logan's going to be in love with Rory, and Logan's going to be with Rory, he's going to make sure that Rory is going to be what, like, that family, like, what a Huntsberger has to be.
But in, like, the final season, when, like, he ends up proposing to Rory at the end, that whole season is, like, Logan's arc of, like, rejecting his family and his, like, birthright. Like, he's... like, quit working for his dad.
He never really does reject it. Like,
yeah, in the Year in a Life, he's back with his dad.
I feel like, regardless of what happens,
starts his own company, I think.
I guess I just don't believe that Logan is ever going to reject that life. I think regardless, like,
I don't think he's gonna, like, be poor.
And I guess I don't mean like, be poor. I just mean I don't think he's ever gonna reject what his family expects of him and what, like, being a part of his world entails, in the same way that, like, and I'm not saying that, like, Rory needed to end up with anyone. I actually liked the season 7 finale where she finally goes off on her own and decides to be, like, her own person a little bit. But I think what I'm saying is, I think Logan, he loves Rory, and he loves who she is when he meets her, and he loves who she is throughout their relationship. But I think ultimately he's just, like, I don't think they're the right, like fit for each other when it comes to, like, the world that I think me as a viewer thinks they should be in. Like, I think Logan is always going to revert back to his family and, like, that kind of, like, upper class life that I don't think Rory.
But Rory's into that world as well.
But I would
argue the opposite, where the other two don't fit into that world. Whereas I think Rory's in both.
But I don't think Rory wants to be in that world fully. And I think Logan
can do both. That's my argument.
I don't think Logan, like, I think he can do Stars Hollow, but I don't think, like, he would be happy if Rory's like, I want to settle down in Stars Hollow, which is what she does at the end of the Year in the Life.
Guess.
He knows what he wants. He definitely, he knows, or at least he thinks he knows what he wants a lot of the time. Like, when Rory says, I'm not giving you an ultimatum, I'm a girlfriend guy, like, girl, like, I can't be a hookup. Logan's like, okay, then I'll be your boyfriend. Like, I'm not.
Yeah.
Like, he knows that he wants her. He goes for her. He's into her. He does, like, he shows her how to loosen up and have fun. And I like that. And I think he was a really good college boyfriend. but I think Logan had a time and a place, just like I think Dean had a time and a place. And I guess the biggest reason why and I think this is why a lot of people like Jess, is because there's always this nagging question for Jess of what could have been. Like, because Jess's time on the show and Jess's time with Rory was cut so short, there's just, like, this nagging question for everyone of, like, well, what if now that their lives are together, they got together, what would that look like? And I think the show really tries to parallel Jess and Logan in the Year in the Life to Christopher and Luke.
Yeah.
And I don't agree with that.
Yeah.
By the way. But I do think they try to parallel that, and I do think to some extent Jess is an iteration of Luke because he's like Luke's son. Like, I think Luke had the most profound impact on Jess's adulthood and growing up. And so I think from that perspective, like, it's like, do you think Rory should be with someone who is, I guess, more like that, like what Jess has become, like this like stable and more, I think, Luke-like person? Or do you think she should be with someone who is basically what Christopher is to Lorelai? It's like he's a fun boyfriend and he does really love her and she does love him and they have this connection, but is that connection like what, like, is that...
See, I think it is. Like, I think it's just like, I think if anything, like the one thing I don't like about the Year in the Life, what they do to Logan is they do make him, the parallel with Christopher, and I think they make him into a cheater, which was never in his character before, and like he never did anything like that before, so I was kind of annoyed by that. But I think to me it's just like the fact that they are still talking, 10 years later, 15 years later, the fact that they dated for 3 years and almost got married, like I think they just are in love, and I think that they do want to be together.
See, I viewed it more as, like, I think I said this earlier, but, like, I think Logan was, like, I think, like, her going back to him is more like he was a comfortable place to go back to. I do believe, even though I said, like, I don't think Rory's as in love with Logan, I do think she's in love with him. I do think she cares about him, but I think by the time Year in the Life comes out, it's not so much that she wants to be with him as much as I think it's, like, she wants to be with someone who she knows, like, loves her and, like, wants to be around her. And I think Logan's someone who she can go back to. And, like, I think them hooking up in that, the only problem I really had with the fact that they may have been, like, hooking up was that he was engaged and she had a boyfriend. And I think they kind of ruined him because I think that Logan, from that relationship with Rory, learned that he wanted love. He wanted a real love. And he wants... But I think that proposal also signified to me that he wants what his family expects. Like, he wants to get married and have a wife by his side, and he wants to do... Like, he's working by the time that he's doing... Like, he wants to do the job he's doing. He wants that. And I think Rory saying no was also Rory acknowledging that she just doesn't want that life. At least not right then. And, like, I'm not saying that Logan would be, like, her worst, like, option, but, like, it's sort of, like, their ending was so perfect that I almost didn't want to see Logan in a Year in the Life, or at least not in the way that I saw him, because I think their relationship was a really good, like, way of presenting that kind of a relationship where they did have, like, a long-term good relationship, but, like, they were at such different points in their life by the end of season 7, and I think Rory was just sort of like starting to embark on her journey, and Logan felt like he knew where he wanted to go. Like, I kind of expected Logan to be the one in A Year in the Life who's like, he's married and he's like a congressman or something like that. Like,
he
kind of that.
No, I get that.
And I also think though, like, if really Logan also plays into Rory's stereotype of liking bad boys, because Logan's everything that Lorelai doesn't want Rory to date.
But that's another thing. I think Lorelai gives Logan, like, so much unnecessary shit. The reasons why she hates Logan are so ridiculous.
She just hates him because he's part of the world that she doesn't want Rory to be a part of.
And then they have that, like, conversation, and he's like, well, isn't that what, like, you did? And it's like, well, yeah, like...
Yeah, like I feel
rejected
like
your like
Logan
upbringing
is
and
almost Rory embracing the fact that she's not her mom, and she doesn't care that her mom doesn't want that for her because she
yeah.
likes him. Like it's almost like Rory being like taking it a step further than Jess, where it's like Logan's the ultimate bad boy in Lorelai's eyes because he's from that world.
It's weird because like he, like yeah, well like he doesn't like he's the bad boyfriend in Lorelai's eyes because he's from that world, which is the gist of what you can like assume from that. But the fact as well that like Logan is one of like Rory's, I think, treats her the best of any boyfriend for the most amount of time, and it's also like a serious relationship she has in her like
He's
young
definitely Rory's
adulthood.
most consistent boyfriend.
Yeah, like they were living together for like multiple, like 2 seasons or something like that. Lorelai does not go to their apartment once.
No.
Like she's so uninvested in Logan and Rory's relationship. I think that's kind of fucked up, and it's probably is part of the reason why like you know he's not included as much in like the Stars Hollow world.
Yeah,
as he could be.
I mean, I think
like I think he would say yes to going if
I
he
just
was
think
invited
that,
to go.
I also just think that Logan has this air of like, even if he did go to the Stars Hollow world and was doing all that stuff, he definitely also thinks he's better than it.
Yes, but so do the Gilmore Girls. And that's why I think Logan is the best fit for Rory.
But I think I think he thinks he's better than it in a different way than the Gilmore Girls. Like I think the Gilmore Girls recognize they're also a part of it. I think Logan would view himself as like someone who's above it in a different way.
Like yeah.
Like it's like the snooty rich kid coming.
Also, Jess is better than Stars Hollow. This town's boring. Dean's the only one who's not better than Stars Hollow.
You're right. Maybe Dean is the one.
Dean is the one after all.
I don't know. But I can't change your mind. You can't change my mind. I think
it's a good debrief.
For me, Jess and Rory's relationship was great, but it should have ended at the end of season 7. And I think not Jess and Rory, sorry, Logan and Rory's relationship, it should have ended at the end of season 7.
Yeah.
And I think it was like, I just felt like it like her and Dean's relationship had run its course for me. Like I had seen what that relationship was. I understood it. I saw what he wanted out of it, and I saw what Rory clearly didn't want out of it.
Yeah.
By the end of it.
That's okay. I think I guess yeah. Yeah.
But yeah,
I'm okay
and then
with that.
Yeah, and then Jess.
As long as we agree
like,
he's not the Christopher of the story.
No, I don't think he is. I just think that's what the show was trying to parallel. And I do think they like really backtracked him. But I also think it had something to do with, I know the like writers or the executive producers, like Amy Sherman Palladino.
I think she always wanted to end the show that way from what I read.
She always wanted to end it with Rory being pregnant and telling Lorelai, and she I don't think she was really involved in the seasons where Rory and Logan dated. Like I think she
stopped writing for season 7. So I think everything until season 6.
So she wasn't involved in it, but I do think like she which is crazy. I know people don't like the finale, like season 7 finale. I liked it a lot.
I think it's fine.
I thought it was a good end to the show. Why not? But yeah, she wasn't involved in the last season, so I guess that may affect things, but it felt like, to me, like, maybe she just, like, backtracked Jess because that's where he was at the end of the season that she watched him, was he was still kind of douchey vibes, so that's how she understood him as a character. You know what I mean? Like, for the Year in the Life.
Well, he's not, like, really a douche in the Year of Life.
Not Jess, sorry, Logan. I keep mixing it up. I feel like she backtracked Logan.
People keep, like, I think, like, he has kind of the personality of the douche, but I don't think he really ever does anything that douchey.
No. I mean, I don't think they can make him do things that are that douchey because then he can't be
I think Jess has done things that are very douchey.
Yeah. But I think Jess's character is the one that, I mean, maybe I just, like, really have a hard-on for character growth, but, like...
No, he
changes and he grows up so much, and, like, he's sort of the one who, like, his problems with Rory were very much each of them had their own personal growth to do, and not that like they didn't have, like, I think
Yeah.
they had, because they had that strong connection and they had that like base level stuff that like could have been a good relationship. The only thing standing in their way was that there were 16-year-olds who
Yeah.
did not know what the fuck was happening.
Well, I think one of my issues with A Year in the Life is how it's like clearly written to be a season 8. But like, so now these are like 30-year-olds acting like they're, 22.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, like you should know how birth control works. You shouldn't probably be cheating on your fiance. You shouldn't like not know how to do a job interview. Like,
yeah. Well, do you want to? I don't know if you have anything more to say about the relationships.
No, we can move on. I think we did good.
To the finales. That's what's next?
Yes, the finale.
So I just watched the season 7 finale today.
Okay.
And I kind of liked, and it kind of gave me ideas for how the Year in the Life maybe should have gone or could have gone. Because the season 7 finale is like, Rory and Lorelai are talking about like their roller coaster trip around America. And Rory like just got rejected from a job and she's sad. And then she's like applying to other jobs and she like sort of like gets a random opportunity to leave, right? Like to follow the campaign, the election.
Yeah.
And work for a website. And I think that's really exciting for Rory. I think it's a perfect like way for Rory to leave the show. Like, I'm going off, I'm starting my journalism career. It's really exciting. And then Lorelai like gets back together with Luke and like sort of like says she has feelings for him, and it's like this like nice goodbye to the show, and the town does that crazy like graduation reenactment that's like so insane that they all care about watching Rory graduate, but like it's a very sweet like send off, and like Lorelai agrees to keep Friday night dinners going on with her parents. Like it's all very really like cute. It's a very good way to like wrap up the show and like everything that happened. And I will say the only person whose ending of the show in that season that I don't like is Lane's, because I feel like she got shafted by just like being pregnant in the last season, having kids with Zach, instead of like, I think they were a cute relationship. I thought them getting married so young was kind of sweet, and like kind of like, yeah, like Lane's a college drop or like a high school graduate, never went to college, just decided to get married to her like bandmate boyfriend, and like I almost think like Lane and the band should have just like gone on tour at the end, like been like we got a gig somewhere, we're gonna go on tour, see what happens, like that kind of thing, because like it felt like her whole character gets shafted a little bit.
But I do think it's sweet, like Lane having kids, like because I think most of what Lane's story is like her relationship with her mom. So I think it is sweet seeing her have kids and having her kind of go through those discussions with her mother again in like new ways, like how she's going to raise her kids versus how her mother. And I think, I forget if this is in A Year in a Life or if this is in the series, but when she's like decides she does want to raise her kids in some ways that like her mom, to tear up. They're so cute. Miss Kim and Lane.
Lane and Mrs. Kim are the best. But yeah, that's all I have to say really about the season 7 finales. I thought it was cute, and I thought it was a good send-off for the show regardless of how other people feel. It's like it was right. Anyways, should we go to the Year in the Life now?
Well, okay, it's kind of combined with my hot take.
Okay.
I, despite being a Team Logan fan, really enjoyed A Year in the Life.
Jesus Christ. Okay, A Year in the Life made me and so many fans so angry.
I can see why.
I think as someone who watched this show and genuinely fell in love with all the characters on it, it's just such an unsatisfying way for the show to go. I also think, okay, the finale, A Year in the Life should not have been like I feel like it was just Rory being like a shit 30-year-old and Lorelai being basically spending like a year realizing she needs therapy. And they all come together because Richard dies, which is tragic, and I totally get why they did that because the actor died in real life. But I thought A Year in the Life also could have been cute when I was watching the season 7 finale, as like Rory got really busy with like her life as like trying to be a journalist and trying to hack it.
Yeah.
That like, and then like something happens, maybe she gets fired, whatever. She comes back home, and maybe that's like her and her mom are finally like, maybe we should like do our like trip that we planned like all those years ago.
I think they did it.
Did they?
Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, but yeah. No, that
But
would
I
have been
just
cute
thought
if
it
they
would have been
hadn't
like
done
a
it.
cute little like a reunion of like Rory realizing like I don't really want this like constant like life of like because it does feel like Rory's character was always meant to come back to Stars Hollow and like
Yeah.
live that kind of a, like I think her ending up running like the newspaper there and writing a book totally made sense for her character, but I think the way that she got there was so entitled and terrible.
Yeah.
Whereas like if it had been more like of a she didn't even have to be like successful, just like her going into that career, maybe she struggled, maybe she didn't, but realizing like it's just not where she wanted to be and pivoting in that
Yeah.
way and like her and her mom like sort of reconnecting and maybe like they hadn't spent much time together since she like left
Yeah, I would have been okay with that.
as like a year in the life as opposed to from what I remember it's like just like Rory's entitled, Lorelai's entitled, there and Emily's losing
Yeah,
her mind
but
because the love of her life is dead.
okay, I have two changes I would make, I guess, to Year in Life. Well, one of them's kind of encroaching on season 7 finale, but
Yeah.
the first change I would make, I think Richard, the actor died, R.I.P., but I think that like Richard Gilmore should have died late season 7. And I think like the climax of the series should have been the Gilmore Girls, Emily, Lorelai,
That could be cool,
and
kind of.
Rory, kind of like them coming together, finding
Yeah.
the relationships, because like, I feel like that's what the show is building up to. But I feel like it's in poor taste now. Like I didn't know the actor died when I watched Year in Life, but I was like, yeah, like narratively, it makes sense that he would be dead for this
No, I mean it also makes
resolution of the
sense narratively.
series. Yeah, it was a nice tribute, and like Emily Gilmore's like arc in that series, I thought
Emily,
was so good.
I think is the only one who had a good arc in A Year in the Life.
To me, I think it's like just a tragic ending to a lot of characters that could never grow and could only regress
Well,
through like generational trauma.
that's what
Except for Emily Gilmore.
what I kind of
And that's why to me I think I enjoyed it because I was like, yeah, that's how these people's lives would go.
what I kind of wrote in was that like I felt like season 7 finale had a lot of like hope, like a lot of potential
Yeah,
and like
okay.
hope for what their lives could become. Like Lorelai and Luke finally got over their crap again and like were able to reconnect, and you'd hope that that meant that like they had realized like they had figured out how to be together, and Rory had like finally like not like she
Sworn off
wasn't in a
men.
relationship,
Yeah.
like she had finally realized that like finding a man wasn't like in her, like not that it was ever like a big part of her, but like she was like I don't like being in love isn't like the biggest thing right now, like I want my career. She finally had started like doing something that she knew was going to be hard and like not the kind of like entitled life
yeah.
that she had like grown up with. And so I think from that perspective, there was like this hope for like the characters to grow and change. And I kind of wanted A Year in the Life to be that it's not like characters themselves that are shit. It's like they've grown and changed a lot since we
Yeah.
last saw them, and they've grown up. And what I wanted was like a situation that brought them together that like sort of made them reevaluate their own lives. And if it's Richard dying, fine. But like why is that making you reevaluate your life? Where is that like putting you in your life? And like how is that like how is that making you realize that like the thing you have now, because obviously if you're doing something like that there needs to be turmoil, but I don't want it to be, oh, Rory just never really changed, Rory got worse if
Yeah.
anything, and like
It's a
oh,
sad
Lorelai,
ending.
like it's depressing as shit, and this is a show
Yeah.
that like is pretty happy all in all. I know they did this on purpose, didn't like that they didn't pull the trigger on one of Lorelai's boyfriends as like her end all be all of like boyfriends. Like they didn't pull the trigger on like a Dean, Jess, Logan, like who they wanted Rory
Oh,
to be
they
with
didn't
kind of
pick one.
thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Or even really allude to ever going to pick one. And I also think ending it with Rory being pregnant was dumb, because I don't think kids was ever something Rory implied that was a big part of her life, or like that like she wanted really, and like ending it with her just not being good at birth control. Like
Well, yeah, and it's also like I was kind of reading up on it. Was it ever a question who the father was?
I think
Because she
everyone
doesn't fuck
just,
anyone else.
was it a question? I assumed it was Logan.
Yeah, it's Logan. No, it's Logan. I don't know.
That's
I've
why-
been seeing
that's why
like
they tried to
articles
do-
of headlines being like, "We finally know the answer to Rory's pregnancy." No, it's
Well,
Logan.
that's why they were trying to do the parallel between
Yeah.
Logan as Christopher and Jess as Luke, because it's like, who else is she? Like, she kept forgetting Paul existed.
Yeah, Paul's
he's not a real character.
No, he's not a real character. He's a joke.
Justice for Paul.
He's a joke to make Rory into a shitty person. No, I totally get why. Like, if I watched the season 7 finale and then the first episode of Year in Life back to back, if you had waited 15 years for that, I would be also pissed.
I think.
But no, I enjoyed it. Oh, the other change I would make is in the Year in the Life when they do the Stars Hollow puts on this like show, this like talent show, or no, the Stars Hollow musical.
Yeah,
that's what it is, and they invite the whole town to come watch it, and then it's just this fucking half-hour long. It's kind of funny, but it's just like a bad play is what they put on to like make you laugh. Yeah. I like we were watching it leading up to it, and I was like the whole time like, oh my god, it's gonna be a musical about young Rory's life, dating Jess and Dean. That's what the Stars Hollow people care about, and that's what they would like canonize as Stars Hollow history.
They care about Rory so much she did a graduation reenactment, so like
yeah, she's
the main character of that town. No doubt.
I was so mad when that didn't come up, and that's what I would change. It would be a musical starring like young kids of Stars Hollow playing Rory. Yeah, the Stars Hollow perspective of her choosing between Dean and Jess.
Yeah. Okay, that could have been fun. I just think the Year in the Life like you just kind of took the characters that everyone was rooting for. Like even in their lows, everyone was hoping Rory and Lorelai especially would figure their shit out and like just have successful lives, even if it wasn't in like traditional ways. And it felt like for a lot of A Year in the Life, they took those characters and they said, let's shit all over them.
Yeah, no, I get that.
And so it was like, okay, I get that if this was something where it's like you wanted this to be season 7 instead of what season 7 was, I see that. But it's not season 7. So instead of sticking to your original script, take the material that you were given and pivot it. Like, make it work for what happened. Like, it felt like the writer of it, basically stuck her head in the sand and went, season 7 didn't happen, I'm back in that zone, and this is what we're doing. And it's like, no, like, don't do that to your fans. Don't do that to the people who, like, I get really passionate about it because, like, you're basically saying fuck you to everyone who loved this show, watched it, like, cared about it, and are like, I'm doing it my way, and I'm doing it this way, and I don't care that it doesn't fit the narrative of what has occurred.
Have you ever seen Star Wars Episode 9? Somehow, Logan Huntsberger's returned.
The Year in Life is just so, like, downright disrespectful.
I, like, enjoyed it in, like, a sadistic way.
It was just, like, I think it's so aggravating, like, so enraging because it's just so...
There's so much filler, too.
Yeah. Like, it's just so, like, cruel to the fans.
Fan service shit. Do the finale shit.
Like,
I don't know. Do the shit people care about.
If you're gonna make A Year in the Life that's that shitty, just, like, do all the things that all the fans wanted you to do.
Do you have any other hot takes?
Oh, I have hot takes.
Go for it.
What did I write for my hot takes? I don't have that many hot takes. I don't even know how hot they are. Emily and Richard were the cutest couple of that show.
Yeah.
I feel that way. I know that Emily could be kind of a huge bitch at times, especially in season 1, but she was hilarious to watch, and her and Richard were just, like, so clearly in love.
I love them, yeah.
I also think, I don't know, this is a really hot take. I think a lot of people are apathetic to this. I thought Lane and Zach were a really cute couple, and I really liked watching their relationship unfold. And I know everyone's like, what about Dave Rogowski? He's so cute, he's so amazing. And yeah, he was cute and amazing, but he's kind of like Lane's Dean. Like, he was really sweet, he was a great boyfriend, and then he left, and that's life.
Yeah.
And, like, unlike Dean, he didn't outstay his welcome. In fact, I think Adam Brody probably left to do the OC, but, I thought, like, yeah, Dave Rogowski was cute, but, like, it was fun to see Lane with a little himbo man.
See, I didn't like Zach.
And I thought their proposal, it might be in my top 5 TV proposals of all time.
Really?
I have it memorized, girl. Baba ends it with, kiss him, sugar. And it's so cute. And he's so, like, he's just so dumb. Like, his proposal is like, it's so stupid. He's like, I wake up and I don't feel good, and I brush my teeth and I don't feel
Yeah.
good. And it's like, yeah, you're such a little idiot.
You
Like,
would be in the Zach. He's like the Nick Miller of.
he's so like himbo energy, but like he's so sweet to Lane, and he loves her, and he and Mrs. Kim sort of have a little understanding going on. I feel
Yeah,
like
they do have like a little thing.
he
Okay.
he asks Mrs. Kim for permission to marry Lane. I mean, granted, after he proposes. And Mrs. Kim gets really invested in the band, which I like. And like he and Mrs. Kim chat, and like when they tell Mrs. Kim that Lane's pregnant, Zach's like, "Don't hit me, I swear." I swear we waited until we got married.
And she's just happy.
And she's just really happy. I just think I know a lot of people are either apathetic to or don't like Zach. But
Yeah, that's I think how I feel.
I thought he was really cute, and I thought
He's fine.
he was like, I just thought it kind of worked with Lane as a character who's super intense. Yeah, Lane is probably one of my favorite characters, which is why I'm so sad she got so shafted. And Lane and Mrs. Kim and Jess and Luke are my favorite parent-kid combos,
Okay.
which are like
No,
the
that's fair.
both side characters. Mrs. Kim's just the best. Before Lane's wedding night, when she says, "You're going to have to do it, Lane. You're just going to have to do it." And Lane's like, "Okay, mama." It's funny.
Yes. Okay.
I don't know. Do you have any
My
more hot
Zach
takes?
apathy is showing through. I don't like Suki and Jackson. They're fucking annoying. Suki's kind of just Lorelai's slave all the time.
I feel like
They're always
Suki and Jackson were right for each other.
I guess.
I think they're a really cute couple.
Remember when he like tells her that he has a vasectomy, but he doesn't, so she gets pregnant against her like consent or not. Like, it's so fucked up.
No, I don't remember that.
He does that, and it's just like, LOL.
Yeah, I think also Suki
yeah.
kind of deserves better, like, as a person.
Suki's sometimes either like really nice, but like sometimes she's a bitch as well.
I think Suki's really intense about her one love, baking. And that's it.
I think it's Melissa McCarthy's best role.
Yeah.
She
But
should
I
go back
think
to that.
Suki kind of like, I just feel like her character suffers from just being Lorelai's best friend and almost nothing else.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Like, I think
she's
just
always...
as a character, she deserved to be, if she was going to be in the show all the time, she deserved to have more.
That's like things like they never show like the side characters. They have such like main character syndrome. They never show like they don't show like Suki's wedding ceremony. They don't show her like giving birth to her first child. Yeah, they don't show like Lane giving birth to her child. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they don't like like they're not allowed to have those big moments in the
Lane's
show.
wedding was also so cute.
Yeah,
when it's like
when Lorelai does her speech.
Oh no! When
but then they're like,
no. I thought it was so cute when like they get married and then they're going to the reception and then Lane's like, "Mama, aren't you coming?" And she's like, "No, like you did this for me. Now you go and be you." And she's like sort of an acknowledgement between the generations of like they have differences and there are just some things that like even though they love each other, they can't really understand. Like Mrs. Kim loves Lane so much, but like she just there's some things where she's like, I know that you're not gonna be your full self with me. Like it's just there's that sad, but it's kind of like
she's accepting of
it's
it.
kind of like beautiful. And so I just thought, their whole relationship just is heartwarming.
I
to
think
me.
they have the best like relationship growth.
It's crazy because it's so C plot. Like it's
yeah,
not
I know
even B plot. It's so C plot.
I started bawling my eyes out when like Lane said she was going to quit the band and get a real job and go back to college, and then Mrs. Kim just shows up and she's like, "I booked you a tour," and she's just their manager, and she just
Mrs.
the 180.
Kim is the biggest supporter of that rock band, and she hates rock music.
Remember in Year in Life when they randomly introduced Mr. Kim?
What?
Like
I thought he was dead.
Bro, there's one cut. Yeah, no, it's super stupid and random. Anyways,
he was unnecessary.
I just was like, yeah, he doesn't exist.
Do you have any discussion questions?
Yeah, I have.
I know you bring those up. I never have any.
What is the Life and Death Brigade?
That's a really good question. I have no fucking clue.
It's a club?
It was like Logan and his rich friends made it up where they could do elaborate things.
Okay. And they're like, that's elitist because they waste money?
Well, they're obscenely wealthy. So they need to waste their money on something.
Yeah, okay.
So they do weird things to spend their money.
Okay. Do you think that Lorelai and Christopher could have worked? Do you think they could have been endgame?
I think the show wanted us to think they were possibly going to be endgame.
When they got them married?
Yeah. Like, I just think they brought Christopher back a lot. And for me, watching from season 1, Christopher was never a real, like, a serious love interest for Lorelai to me. Like, I know they tried to push him as one, but every time he came back, I just thought, this is kind of annoying. Like,
yeah.
I think...
You knew that they were never going to end up together.
I knew that it was always going to be Luke.
I would have been okay, I think, with Lorelai and Christopher. Like, when she does leave Luke for him and sleeps with... That's the thing, too, I think, similar with how I feel with Rory and Logan. Like, okay, if you want to fuck him so badly that you're willing to, like, kind of be a bad person for it, just be with them.
I guess I think my biggest problem is, like I just think both of them, like, they are constantly making mistakes in their love lives that are just, like, so stupid. But, like, I just don't think Lorelai was ever really gonna pick Christopher.
Yeah.
Oh, like, I think if they at any given point in the show said, like, just, like, straight up, like, Luke loves you, Christopher loves you, who would you rather be with? I think at 9 times out of 10, Lorelai just would have picked Luke. And so
But she did, yeah.
Like, even though she did shit, I feel like it was always a knee-jerk reaction to her thinking that Luke didn't want what she wanted and didn't want to be with her. And I feel like I just never really thought, like, oh, Christopher's the one for her. I always thought he was, like, it was, like, backsliding. Like, she was like, oh, like, I guess Christopher's here. The same way, like, when Rory and Logan hooked up, I was like, it's just backsliding. Like, oh, I guess Logan is here.
I see what you mean.
So, I don't know if I ever... But that doesn't mean I don't think they could have worked. I think if the show was written...
Yeah, me neither. I don't really know.
I think if the show was written differently, maybe. Like, I don't think fundamentally the characters, like, were the problem.
I don't think she's any better suited for Luke than she is Christopher. I think she could have ended up with either of them, and they could have written it to make it work.
Like, I don't think personality-wise either of them would have been a problem. I just think from the way the show is written... It was clearly always going to be Luke.
Yeah.
Like, there was not really a question for me.
Okay, and then I guess my last, not really discussion question, but this is what I wrote down. I said, Jess is Luke, Christopher is Dean, and Logan is Lorelai.
What?
Because I think that Dean's relationship to Rory, I think, is, like, similar to, like, Christopher's relationship to Lorelai. Where it's, like, he's, like, the childhood one that's, like, always there.
Yeah.
And, like, has an affair to, like, be with her kind of thing and, like, kind of can't get over her.
I guess the way they changed that, though, is I think Dean is really happy. And Dean is the only one who has a good ending in the year of the life where it's, like, he's happy. He got what he wanted. He got the wife and the kids and the small town life.
Yeah.
Like, he got exactly what he wanted.
Christopher's fine. He bounces back pretty easy.
And I don't think Dean, at that point when we saw him in the year of the life, would have gone back to Rory.
I just had to make the...
But I do think you're right a little bit that, like...
I think Logan is Lorelai just because of the rejecting his, like, family legacy thing and, like...
I think Logan is, like Lorelai, but, like, a Lorelai if Lorelai never got pregnant.
Yeah.
And, like, left kind of thing.
Yeah, I could see that.
You know? And, yeah, Jess is Luke.
The show does... Maybe I think just I'm realizing the show does a lot of parallels.
I mean, I think they're trying to. I think that's the point.
Yeah. I don't know if one fits the other.
I don't think it's perfect. I mean, I think them trying to parallel Logan to Christopher was a stretch.
Yeah.
I get the Jess and Luke one. I do think Jess is also, as a grown-up, is very similar to... I think Jess in general is very similar to Luke because Luke is the only consistent adult figure in Jess's life. By the way, this is really, like, end of the episode stuff, but... Jesus Christ, they should have dug into Jess's mom a little bit more. Like, we just forgive her for, like, shipping him off at 15 to live with her brother because she didn't know what to do with this problem child.
Well, they literally write it as if Jess is being abused at home, and then they introduce his mom, like, seasons. It's just sweetest thing.
She's just wacky little...
Yeah, she's like...
What's her name?
The same thing with, like... I think they do the same thing with, like, I think Rory and Christopher. It's, like, they kind of allude to it being...
To be fair, I think with Jess, they allude to his mom having terrible taste in men and those men abusing Jess.
Okay, yeah.
Not
I think
his
that's
mom.
still the mom at some point, but yeah. No,
No,
she's
I just
not
mean-
like the woman that they introduced.
We forgive her too quickly, and she's not the woman they introduced. You're right. Like, I think I almost wanted it to be like she's like an alcoholic or something, and like she gets sober, and that's maybe when we see her.
Or
And
just
she's
like at least like in a like even if she had just like her intro scene had been an apology, you know, I think that's what the show
Yeah.
like lacks a bit. Is just like I like these are you
willingness
can get away with
to-
this stuff, and you can like kind of brush on the rug, just like as long as they
none of their
Acknowledge
characters
it.
can acknowledge what they've done wrong and apologize.
yeah
Maybe the biggest problem with Gilmore Girls.
they're trapped in the magic of Stars Hollow,
Ooh.
where everyone's perfect and the best.
Yeah.
Sounds nice.
Should we go to Stars Hollow?
It's pretty hot people there.
Yeah. Maybe I could find my own Zach.
Found my own. Huntsford.
Well, you'd have to go to Yale for that.
Sorry, Richard Gilmore.
Yeah, I guess.
Wait, is Logan Huntsford in jail?
Yale.
Oh fuck! I thought you said jail, and I was like,
You have to go to Yale for that, girl.
is he canceled?
No.
Okay.
The actor, Matt Crutchkey, or however you say his last name, is, he's doing well.
He looks well.
Him and Milo Ventimiglia and Jared Padalecki,
No one went to jail, eh?
no, those three all had very successful acting careers.
It's good. Good for them.
Lauren Graham starred in now 2 hit TV shows that went for more than... Gilmore Girls went for 7 seasons, and she was on Parenthood, which was like 10 seasons.
Oh yeah, I mean, watch that.
Just imagine the career.
she's-
Alexis Bledel, I feel like, is the least successful of those actors.
Jared Padalecki, we'll talk about it in Supernatural, but damn, has he
Yeah.
hit his range of acting and not tampered with it since?
Don't mess with perfection.
He did that first scene in Gilmore Girls. He's like, yep, that's my range.